Alright, welcome everybody to our first reaction of the season. I am Francis the Fox as always, and today we'll be reacting to What If Earth Started Rotating Backwards Right Now by Real Life Lore. This channel talks about a lot of things about the Earth as well as other cool things to learn, including international borders and other cool stuff. And that is our first one for this channel. If you guys like this kind of content, make sure you guys leave a like, follow, and subscribe. And don't forget, in the description, I have the link to my reaction channel very soon. But we're gonna start there very soon as we get ready and stuff. Alright, let's get right into it. What if Earth started rotating backwards?
This video was made possible by Brilliant. Learn with Brilliant for 20% off by being one of the first 200 to sign up at brilliant.org/reallifelore. Right now, as you're listening to my voice and watching this video, you're flying around in space at a speed you probably don't realize because of the way the Earth rotates.
That's
if you're
right.
standing on the equator, then you'd be traveling at a speed of 1,670 kilometers per hour from west to east, or counterclockwise as viewed from above the North Pole. Every planet in the solar system rotates in this direction except for Uranus and Venus. So, Earth has been rotating pretty normally, all things considered.
That's
but
right.
we know that it's gradually slowing down at a rate of about 2.3 milliseconds per century.
That's very
Therefore,
small,
a day on Earth
though.
today in 2019 is roughly 2 milliseconds shorter than a day was back in 1919. Eventually, billions of years from now, Earth will cease rotating entirely. But Earth will probably never begin rotating in the opposite direction like Venus does. But just for fun, what would happen if it did,
What if?
like right now? The easy answer is that everybody would probably just die from whiplash and getting flung around at thousands of kilometers per hour if it just happened immediately. But that's kind of boring, so let's imagine in Fantasyland that nobody dies and it just starts happening. How would society and your daily life be affected? Let's start with the
It's really
immediate
fun.
effects. Every satellite in orbit right now would be immediately obsolete because they're functioning on the assumption that, something stupid like this won't happen. Imagine if every satellite was orbiting Earth in the wrong direction, and that's the consequence that we'd be dealing with. So GPS and cell services would probably be pretty majorly disrupted for a while. Time zones as we know them would also be pretty.
Yeah, look at that. What happens if the Earth started spinning the other direction? Look at the times here. We got 3:06 in at LA. We got Bangkok at 17:06. We got Frankfurt in Germany at 12:06. Toronto is 6:06 because that is Eastern Canada. What's going to happen with the time?
Pretty messed up. Humanity rather arbitrarily drew lines across the Earth's surface and decided that this mess is how we measure time across the planet. Under the current system, a new day begins at 12 a.m. just to the west of the international dateline here and continues westward for 24 hours until reaching the eastern side of the dateline on the other side, once Earth makes an entire rotation. If Earth pulled a switcheroo and began rotating in the opposite direction, this...
Yeah. So if the Earth started rotating the other way, the international dateline goes to the right instead to the left. And that's going to mess up the 24-hour time system because you have the international dateline moving from left to right instead of right to left as it is today.
This would completely change. The sun would rise in the west and set in the east, and the time of day would, therefore, have to flow from the east of the international dateline. The first big cities to celebrate the new year would be Honolulu and Anchorage, while North America would be the first continent, and New Zealand would be the last significantly populated place to get a chance to celebrate. But a lot more would change on the surface of Earth over time than just, well, time. The seasons of Earth wouldn't change because those are determined by Earth's axial tilt and not her rotation. However, Earth's climate would gradually change over time dramatically because that is influenced by her rotation. As the planet rotates, the push and pull of its sheer momentum decides the direction of the ocean's currents. Along with atmospheric wind flows, this is what produces the range of climate patterns that we see across the Earth's surface. If you change the direction of Earth's rotation, all of this changes in some pretty wild ways. Let's talk about Europe first. One of the most important ocean currents in the world is the Gulf Stream, which carries
That's right.
warm ocean water from the Gulf of Mexico and Florida up to Western Europe. Combined with the jet stream winds, which carry clouds and rainwater from Canada to Northern Europe, the European continent in our normal spinning world is a warmer and wetter place than it otherwise would be. If Earth's rotation reversed, this would be totally different. Based on a computer simulation that was run in 2018.
Look at that. Look at look at this graph right here. This is gonna be what if the Earth changes direction in the rotational. Look at what we have here. We got the surface temperature, the precipitation, rain, the deserts, the climate, all that is going to change if the Earth rotated different way.
At the European Geosciences Union General Assembly, Western Europe would be a much colder and snowier place that would be about 10 degrees Celsius lower on average, and would more resemble the climate of Russia today, while the UK and Ireland would be really colder and would more resemble northern Alaska and Canada. These changes would take place gradually over time, but would be quick on a geological timescale. The computer simulation produced these results after only 7,000 years into the future. But every other continent in the world would suffer from extreme climate change as well, perhaps none more so than Africa and the Middle East. With changing wind patterns and ocean currents shifting to North Africa and the Middle East, the deserts would disappear. The entire Sahara would vanish, replaced by a dense green forest that would stretch across the entire Middle East as well.
So today, Africa is still the northern part, the way the Sahara is still desert. But if the Earth rotated the other way, that's a different story. That's now forest.
North Africa and the Middle East would more resemble the climates of France and Germany today, with milder climates and a lot of rainfall. The Mediterranean Sea would almost become a freshwater lake with a tremendously increased amount of rainfall in the area. The outback desert in Australia also vanishes under these conditions, replaced with a vast interior steppe. Interestingly,
That would be nice,
that the
though.
climates of Western and Eastern Australia will switch places, with more grasslands and rainfall in the west and more arid steppes in the east. Pretty much every major desert in the world today vanishes, but new deserts pop up in some unexpected areas where they haven't ever existed before. Like, for example, North America. The entire southern US, from Texas to Florida to North Carolina, is transformed into a vast, hot, arid desert that resembles the climate of Iraq or Saudi Arabia today.
Look at that, though. That's true. Look at LA. LA is hot by normal standards. But look at Florida. Florida is tropical. But what happens if it's Earth rotated the other way? Ooh, that's a desert. Texas by itself is already a desert because it's hot there. But it can be expanded if the Earth rotated the other way.
The West Coast, on the other hand, gets significantly colder and snowier and more resembles the climate of Quebec today. South America also changes dramatically. The new largest desert in the world is located here across modern-day Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. This great South American desert effectively becomes the new world's Sahara, with another vast desert in the north.
That would be the new Sahara Desert.
Venezuela, and Guyana. South America becomes the world's most desert-covered continent, with what remains of the Amazon rainforest in between. And finally, there's Asia. India mostly remains the same, while China changes significantly. A vast desert similar to the Gobi in Mongolia pops up across the entire southeast. Much of Southeast Asia surrounding this desert, like northern Vietnam, becomes an arid steppe. Manchuria becomes a warmer place with forests and rain, while Kamchatka in Russia weirdly transforms into a pretty mild place, with a lot less cold and snow than the rest of Russia. If the world started spinning backwards today, everything about our way of lives, from time to geography, would change dramatically. With less desert coverage overall, global temperatures will cool slightly by about 0.2 degrees Celsius. It's impossible.
That doesn't look like much, but trust me, that's gonna be in years too. So minus 0.2 degrees Celsius it's gonna feel like a little bit. But remember, this is going by years from now. What if the Earth started rotating backwards from right, left to right? So that would be very critical to understand here.
Possible to predict exactly what kind of an influence this would have on history. I'll leave that discussion down for the comments. But either way, it's fascinating to think about how a seemingly simple thing like the direction of Earth's rotation can have such an enormous impact on both history and society. The processes that govern how the Earth operates are complicated, but anybody can learn how it all works. If you're a viewer of real life lore, you're probably someone who likes learning about interesting things. And one of my favorite subjects is simple physics.
Alright, I think that's it for the main video, guys. So what we learned today is that if the Earth started rotating backwards today, the temperature, the climate will be shifted, most likely in reverse. So Los Angeles becomes snowy. New York or the southern US becomes a desert. And Africa has the Sierra, that becomes the forest. And South America becomes the new Sierra. If the Earth started rotating the other way. Also, with time, we learned that time is going to switch up a bit, reverse. So we saw that in the model that the international dateline will go from left to right. If the rotation was reversed, then it would be right to left today. So there would be 12 a.m. on the left, and it would be the other way on the right today. But we're going to see the sun rise in the east and set in the west if this was reverse rotational pull. So it's pretty interesting to see what would have happened if Earth rotated the other way. And if you guys learned something very new today, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we'll be back with you guys with another real life lore reaction video next Thursday for you guys. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Like, subscribe, and like. And we'll see you guys next time, y'all.